This little Advent pondering is for the misfits, and I hope by its end that'll mean all of us. In this hard candy Christmas season, it feels like none of us are fitting in, and I pray, for the sake of this nation, that we continue to not fit in. So you know Dasher and Dancer and Prancer and Vixen, Comet and Cupid and Donner and Blitzen and Rudolph and Frosty and Mary and Joseph, the Grinch and Cindy Lou. But do you recall, and you probably don't, the least famous Christmas time character of all? It's time you heard the tale of Jesus in a bag. I'll set the snowy scene. December 1987, the most wonderful time of the year in the small hamlet of Hudson, Ohio, during a holiday charity craft fair at the local Methodist church on the third Sunday in Advent, the one our tradition says symbolizes joy. Children laughing, people passing, meeting smile after smile that could be a disguised scowl. It's suburbia, after all, where smiles can be weaponized. An angry, exhausted family has come to participate against basically all of their wishes. This is a good family, a caring family, but they are exhausted by their commitment to getting things done. And this is a social church charity event designed to provide serious charitable activities for your hands to do rather than just running your mouths with your friends at the mall. All the makings of this event will be carted off to homeless shelters and prisons. The weather outside is frightful, but not much here is delightful. This is not fun. This is serious charity. Zoom in on the littlest member of the family, a lonely misfit, 7 years old, a boy who actually likes the craft part of the whole affair more than the people part, mainly because crafts don't make fun of him, and because navigating written instructions feels far more manageable than trying to navigate the intricacies of interpersonal relationships at Christmas time or at any time. He has visited all of the traditional tables around the rec room, none of which have brought him any joy, and has finally found a table at which no one else is sitting. It's glorious, set up with the ingredients for making pasta baby Jesuses. Tiny wooden heads with painted eyes and hairdos, pieces of ziti for the body, pieces of macaroni for the arms, tiny, tiny pieces of some kind of couscous or something, but it's the Midwest in 1987, and this little boy is only 7, so he doesn't really know that it's couscous. And pieces of bow tie pasta for the wings, because at this church, baby Jesus apparently has wings. It's taken all afternoon to find this magical noodle wonderland. Every other table offers less than intriguing ingredients for making different types of garland. The tired popcorn garland, the boring paper ring garland, the crusty cranberry garland. Apparently, homeless shelters and prisons are in most need of garland. And there are surprisingly strict rules on how to construct these simple strings. But now the boy has found a haven, and he's all alone. No rules to follow. Somehow no one else is intrigued by this wintry graveyard of disembodied wooden heads and carbohydrate-rich body parts. It's suddenly a private craft party with no one to look down on what he's making or scoff at how meticulously he works. No one to laugh at how seriously he takes his crafts. All defenses are down. The careful construction is about to commence. Joy at last. And then a very stressed, very parental voice behind says, "Time to go. What? Let's go. But they're packing up. Can I just make one baby Jesus? They're packing everything up. Joy dashed. And the boy grabs one wooden head, one ziti torso, 2 macaroni arms, 1 bow tie noodle just in case, a crap ton of couscous, and squeezes out huge globs of glue to toss his art together. He grabs a small plastic sandwich baggie, not even an expensive Ziploc bag provided, just the cheap kind that has to be twisted and knotted. The boy pops it all in the tiny baggie, knots it, and joylessly runs for the car, juggling a sad Santa sack of barely together, intensely ugly, absconded parts in his little hands. The parents look angry and exhausted. Merry Christmas. When they get home, the glue hasn't held, and the pieces have all fallen apart into a jumbled mess. The boy goes for the drawer where the glue usually is, all out. He's told angrily and exhaustedly that they can buy some new glue later, but that he shouldn't have brought that thing home with him in the first place. That was for charity. This is hardly a proper decoration for a home. But the boy's eyes light up, and he says he has another idea, a better idea. A conviction that he's going to take these Christmas lemons and make lemon wassail. That he's going to make something new from this wreckage. He walks to the already decorated tree, ripe with perfectly beautiful store-bought ornaments and twinkling white lights and no garland. He reaches behind the tree to pull a tiny wire hook from a box. He knots the bag closed again, securing what's inside, the sticky glue, disparate parts, and he pokes the end of the tiny hook into the knot, and he proudly places it in the most prominent spot on the tree, a plastic body bag of what the heck, and then takes one single light bulb on the string and places it behind, so that it reflects off of every crinkly, messy part of that cheap sandwich bag. The parents look on, very worried, and cautiously ask, "What is that?" The boy, exhausted but proud, finally seeing his new vision realized, says, "Joy to the world! Behold, Jesus in a bag!" And laughter comes, and joy comes, and the new addition to the tree stays, and it shines like a gloriously makeshift messianic mess, useless and necessary. And the years go by. The tree is taken down and put back up year after year. The other beautiful ornaments are stored away. Glue is bought to put back in the drawer, but glue never touches the elements of Jesus in a bag. This joyfully queer little souvenir stays the same, now for nearly 30 years, carefully knotted, preserved as a monument to a minuscule moment of joy created in the midst of strife. A tiny reminder of creativity in crisis, of unexpected beauty in a season of bleh. Each year, a different family member gets to help put Jesus in a bag in its prominent place, putting it in its unlikely, beautifully ugly position among the properties of an otherwise perfect tree. It's now my family's annual oasis of janky joy within a sea of ho-hum normality. A reminder to find joy for ourselves even as we try, clumsily, to make justice for others. Well, this year, I'm desperately looking for new Jesus in a bag moments. I know I'll get to put this old friend on my parents' tree next week, but in all of my current conversations, it seems like everyone's feeling a bit like a misfit toy these days. Even Advent feels strange. Sure, when we lit the candle on the first week for faith, that made some kind of sense because we're faithful people who are called to have faith. When we lit the second candle for hope last week, that made some kind of sense because we're willing ourselves to be hopeful even in the midst of true craziness in our political scene. Because that's just what we faithful and hopeful do. But today, when we're called upon to light a candle for joy, what the heck is that about? I don't hear a lot about joy from anyone lately, unless it's someone saying that they don't have any. Even with all of the organizing galvanization since November, I see exhausted faces and hear petty fights breaking out among people who love each other. So I come to you this morning with a story and stand before you on this, the last time that I'll see you all in this room before the Christmas holiday, with a very simple idea for the rest of the month. It's nothing you haven't heard before. Don't get excited. It will not change you immediately. It might not even feel like we're doing anything in this moment. But here's what I got for myself, and here's what I have for you. In these days, look for joy. It will not throw us off course from our necessary activist work, I promise. Our commitment to the imperatives of our gospel is too ingrained in our bones, in our DNA, for it to disappear just because we spend some time over the next 2 weeks searching for pockets of joy. January 20th will still come, as will the next 4 years. Things will continue to feel terrible, and we will not be okay. I know. Faith and hope will be necessary, but they're about the past and the future. They're about waiting. Joy begs us to find it right now, even as we work to resist the normalizing of awful behavior in this country, because without joy, we won't sustain our faith and our hope. Joy is tricky because it interrupts our comfortably chaotic juggling acts. We know how to do, and thank God we do. But joy isn't a state of doing, it's a state of being. We have 2 classic examples in this morning's ancient and modern testimony songs. Mary's Magnificat, even as it proclaims the resistance her act will bring to the world, is an exclamation of ecstatic joy. She's juggling deep fear with deep hope and faith, but we do her a disservice if we discount her fierce joy. The same goes for the musical tale of the dummy juggler. He's a social outcast, one whose gifts are not appreciated by those around him, but when he simply embodies the thing that brings him the most joy, its power emanates. Both stories are terrific examples of resistance, but they're also deep models for seeking joy, not simply as a self-obsessed act, but as a sustained spiritual underpinning for everything we offer to this world. Joy is deeper than simply knowing what you're against and even what you're for, or reading news stories you like, or accumulating belongings or wins. Joy can add to resistance, but its main point is not resistance. Its main point is connection. Its main point is feeding your soul, giving you the nourishment you need to keep going. It's the camaraderie that develops when a group is assembling harm reduction kits in our office or accompanying somebody to their ICE check-in. It's the co-creative community that has built up at Standing Rock, the laughter emanating from the kitchen at Bailout. It's spray painting t-shirts at a Gays Against Guns meeting, or the serious fun of Muslim women learning to defend themselves at workshops in our gym. This joy feeds the resistance, but it's something deeper than the resistance. Joyless activism and charity could maybe still get the job done, but joyless activism and charity tends to die off very quickly. It's not fear and anger that's kept Judson trucking along for decades. It's the fact that our work together brings us joy. The more joy we seek, the more nourished we are for the work ahead, and the stronger we become in the face of joyless demagoguery. If we take these next 2 weeks and seek joy at every turn, we will look strange. Hopelessness is the new norm right now, and there is tons to do. But we, in the Christian tradition, have never fit in. We can't do it. We're misfits through, and we can only recognize it in one another as long as we let our joyful freak flags fly. Joy isn't pretending that you're happy when you're not happy. I know we're not happy right now. We're all juggling moments of hopeful resistance with moments of true hopelessness, but joy queers the juggling. It queers it and does what it should be doing. It moves deeper underneath the resistance that we're planning, and it lasts longer. You may not have a Jesus in a bag, but you've got something there, waiting to be joyfully positioned back to its perfectly imperfect place. If something doesn't bring you joy, stop doing it for a moment. And I'm looking at you, Facebook. Do things you love. Find new things to love. Ask others what they love. It's simple, authentic joy that this hard candy Christmas so desperately needs. Mary sang it. The dummy juggler sang it. And Henko, why don't you help us sing a little song together? And everyone, let's turn to page 7. All the folks in the best little whorehouse in Texas have their own ideas of what they might do to get through a hard candy Christmas. You can change the lyrics if you want to. You might not want to do what any of these people are doing, so change the lyrics and sing your own song. Making the song your own is where joy starts. Help us, Henko.